are all equal. It's time that we're all heard. Hello and welcome to A Voice for All. I am your host, Jamila Gamble. If it's your first time watching the show, welcome and thank you for joining us today. Our episode is about siblings. Oftentimes, parents who have children with disabilities and have other children as well, it becomes sometimes a little difficult for families to, I guess, share themselves amongst their children. It can be difficult for some families. Some families have found a system that works for them, especially if they have an older sibling who could care for the other ones. But for some of the siblings, it is a bit of a pressure for them. They may not understand what their sibling is going through. They may not understand the world that's around them or why there's certain people who are working with their sibling. And oftentimes their voice is not heard. So today on A Voice for All, we have a representative from Autism Ontario who's going to talk to us about how to communicate, how to foster that relationship of the other siblings in the family. If you would like to get involved into tonight's discussion, you can email me at missjams.pccs@gmail.com, or you could tweet me at missjamspccs. I'm always eager to hear your feedback, hear what you have to say. Perhaps you are a sibling yourself, an adult sibling or a child sibling. Your story, your voice means so much to the show, and we love to hear from you. Perhaps you're a parent who needs a little feedback, a little guidance on how to work with all the children in your family. Everyone needs a little support, and here in A Voice for All, that's what we're going to do. As I said, we have a representative from Autism Ontario, which we'll be speaking to a little bit later on. But if this is your first time tuning in and you haven't heard what our topic is, we are focusing on siblings in the family who have a sibling with a disability. How can we work with them? How can we meet their needs, hear their voices? Perhaps you are a teacher who has a student in your class and they've asked you certain questions and you're not sure on how to give them that support or give them that advice. On today's show, we guarantee you'll be able to know, after listening to our speaker from Autism Ontario, how to work with those children. As a frontline staff myself and as a consultant, I've worked with a few families who do have older siblings and younger siblings, and fortunately those families have created a system in which it works for everybody, that everyone, you know, their needs are met, their emotions are heard, and they work together in a strong unit. For some other families, they haven't gotten that support yet, and I have a few families that I'm working with, so hopefully they are tuning in tonight and they could contribute their thoughts. As I said, we have a representative from Autism Ontario, and we're going to be focusing on the siblings tonight. Perhaps you are a sibling yourself, and this is the show you've been waiting for. Your voice will be heard, your questions, your concerns will be addressed. You could tweet me, as I mentioned before, Miss Jams, PCCS, or you could email me, missjams.pcss@gmail.com. Your voice will be heard. If you are a new viewer, as I mentioned before, A Voice for All focuses on frontline staff, families, parents, and individuals who have disabilities, as well as educating the Peel region. Disability awareness is becoming a hot topic within our community, and if we're going to work together as a family, if you like to put it that way, within the Peel region, we have to understand and recognize the needs of everybody in our community, regardless of what their disability or their ability may be. If you do not know a lot, when it comes to working with individuals, this is the show for you. We guarantee that after viewing our interview with our guests from Autism Ontario, that you will be more knowledgeable in the field on how to be a little bit more empathetic towards siblings that you might see out in the community. Learn some tidbits. Get involved in our conversation tonight. After the break, we're going to go to our community voice aspect. If you ever see us in the community, be sure to come out. We love to hear your inputs. We had a few awesome I guess, streeters in the community giving us their take on working with individuals or having a sibling, and hearing their voice. Like I said, your voice matters here for Voice for All. And I am your host, Jamila Gamble. Make sure you stay tuned. Don't leave that couch. Let your family know. And today we have an awesome representative from Autism Ontario. Stay tuned. This is A Voice for All, and I'm your host, Jamila Gamble. Welcome back to A Voice for All. I am your host, Jamila Gamble. This is our segment where we hit the Peel streets and we ask you the question of the week. So this week we asked you, do you feel that Peel is doing enough when it comes to offering services for people with disabilities? It was interesting to hear what you had to say, but if we didn't get a chance to meet you on the streets, feel free to tweet me at MissJamsPCCS, or you can email me at missjams.pcss@gmail.com. Afterwards, we're going to go to our speaker from Autism Ontario, and she'll be able to provide some insight more into our question of the week. From what some of the viewers are saying, some viewers felt that there wasn't enough services, but it was also interesting to hear that some viewers felt that no, I like to see more from Peel. So maybe this is what we need to do. Let Peel know, let your voice be heard, and let us know what your feedback is about, do you think Peel offers enough services when it comes to people with disabilities? So let's go to our community segment.
So far we have received a lot of help from Peel. My mom, she gets relief if I'm going to go away. Like right now, my brother goes out and they provide transport for us. We haven't really kind of looked for more services because right now we are comfortable with what we are getting. Transport, they pick him up and he goes to a program called FABUS. I believe it's part of the Peel Halton community. So that has been really helping with my mom getting relief, and even just me and her right now, my brother is gone, we're just hanging out, talking, you know, so that's the kind of help that we get from Peel.
They do have a lot of like stuff to help with disability. I work with the city of Brampton also as well, and I know they have a lot for that. And yeah, they do talk a lot about people with disabilities and inform them, especially when I went through my orientation, they told us about it.
I believe that they're trying their hardest. They make like an honest effort, especially with like camps and other programs in schools. But yeah, they obviously can do a lot more to make it known to like kids, younger ages, make them more exposed to kids who are different from them.
I really don't think it's out there enough. I really, think that there needs to be more. Myself, I can't tell you a whole lot about it, so yeah, like I know the YMCA has information. Besides that, I don't know.
I'm not really finding a lot of information on how to get back into the workforce, and I think they should be able to subsidize or help people with disabilities get back into the workforce. There's a lot of, it would bring them to pay more taxes, and it would also help out the community.
I think that we have services that are definitely out there. For instance, the YMCA partners with a program called Reach for the Rainbow, and we offer one-to-one support which works with integration as opposed to separation, which is, I find, a really good program. But I think there's also a lot of people out there that don't have a lot of education. They don't know how to behave around people with a disability, and in turn they usually disrespect them in a way that they don't know that they're doing.
I find that they try to generalize that. They could do a lot more, maybe be more involved in community-wise, and that way we could be more aware maybe in our schools and get together as groups and start something that could actually benefit as a whole.
Yeah, I think Peel does a great job in helping people out. They reach out quite often in the city with many different functions and events, as well as all the firms and establishments in the city with food drives, clothing drives, as well as resources through Peel Center, 10 Peel as well, and as well just doing things for each other and reaching out with each other on our own needs.
So welcome back. That was our Community Voice segment, and as you can see, there was a very mixed response as to whether or not Peel provides enough services and education when it comes to disability awareness. As a frontline staff, I would love to see more from Peel, but thank you to those people that we met on the streets, and as always, I encourage you to write it to me at missjamspcss@gmail.com, or you could tweet me and let me know, do you feel Peel does enough? What would you like to know? What would you like to hear or see? So we had a good response from the people on the streets. This is the kind of thing we need to see and hear. We need to hear your take on things, and this is how we make change. The louder your voice is, the more change. So after our break, we're going to have Elizabeth from Autism Ontario. Tune in for a great interview. I'm Jamila Gamble, and this is A Voice for All.
I can't imagine.
And
Dumpty had a
welcome back to A Voice for All. I'm your host, Jamila Gamble. We have Elizabeth from Autism Ontario with us. She is our guest today. She's going to provide us with some information, especially for parents and siblings who may have someone with autism in their family. So let's welcome Elizabeth. Hello, Elizabeth. Thank you for being on A Voice for All.
My pleasure, Jamila. Thank you for bringing to the forefront a very important topic.
I know. Thank you. Thank you for even being here so we could get your insight. As I mentioned, being a frontline worker and a consultant with families, this is often a very tender topic, I find. So hopefully you'll be able to give us some good information.
It is a tender topic, and I think it's a topic that we don't talk enough about. And so when you don't talk enough about something, people don't know how to talk about it.
Right.
So this is our opportunity to share, you know, what we can to help families out.
Awesome. So tell me, what does Autism Ontario offer to families?
Well, autism, my job as a family support coordinator is really a resource position. So families can be in touch with me via the Autism Ontario email site and ask for resources within our community. We run a lot of social, what we call social learning opportunities. So opportunities for families to gather along with the siblings and engage in activities. You know, sometimes, as you know, when our families go out in the community with their children with differences, it can be really hard on them because people are staring at them. Also on the siblings, because people are looking at the siblings saying, what's wrong with your brother or sister? So we run swimming, movies, trips to Marineland for our families.
Marineland?
Yeah, Marineland, the zoo.
I'm in.
They're going to Disney. They do all kinds of things. Lots of fundraising involved, but they go to Disney, and it allows them to be together as a group, where there's lots of support for the moms and dads, lots of supports for the kids with autism, and again, lots of support for the siblings. So
that sounds amazing. I'm glad to hear that there's that social aspect, because oftentimes, you know, here we are promoting inclusion within you know, our community programs, but then there's a lot of segregation and separation happening within the family. So it's great to hear that there's these social and safe and welcoming environments for these siblings. So when you work with some of these families, what's some of the concerns or feedback you often get from the siblings?
Boy, it varies. Just as you and I are very different, so are the siblings. There are siblings who their brother and or their sister are just a part of the family.
Right.
So they'll go absolutely anywhere. There's no embarrassment. There's no concern. And then we have kids who would rather not go out for dinner with the family because they can be very embarrassed by it.
Right.
But our siblings are amazing advocates. They are old for their age. That's a good thing. They're a bit mature for their age. You know, they're very, very different. I think we all have to take the opportunity to speak to each and every one and see what their strengths are and what their needs are.
So what age do these workshops go to?
What you're really talking about, anybody can run an activity for siblings.
Okay.
Really, you don't need to have necessarily any special training. But there's a gentleman by the name of Don Mayer who wrote this book called Sib Shops.
Fantastic.
And Don I got to go for 2 days on a weekend to learn about how to run these workshops. They're for kids 6 to 13 years of age.
Okay.
And what's really nice about this is it's not like therapy. You know, you sometimes think about going and talking about having a brother or a sister with differences as being a bit therapeutic. I had so much fun. It's an activity-based experience of sharing. So one of the activities we did, we were lucky on many fronts, but we had some siblings come into the room and do some of the activities with us. One of the activities involves a rope. So you may be at one end of the rope as an adult, because 2 adults usually facilitate. I'm at the other end of the rope as an adult. At your end, you say, oh, my brother or sister can come for dinner. It doesn't bother me when they throw the crayons on the floor. You know, sometimes we get extra ice cream.
Right.
My end is the side that I'd rather not. I'd rather not go out with my brother or sister because I'm embarrassed and I don't like it when people look at us, and if my friends see me, you know, I don't really want my friends to know. And then what Don did with the kids said, voluntarily, if you guys want to or not, come up to the rope one at a time and stand somewhere between you and I, as far as how you feel about going out for dinner with your brother or sister.
That's a great exercise.
It was really neat to see these young people. They were so honest. You know, here they are in a strange environment with 30 adults, and we're asking them to kind of tell us something that's pretty private.
Yeah.
It was like a relief.
So how would you take an activity like that and turn it to so parents could do it at home? What's activities that they could do at home?
Even that activity you can do at home, because you can have that opportunity to chat about, okay, so how can we make it better?
Right.
If you don't like going to the movies with your sibling because they do this on the chair, you know, what can we do to make it better so that you don't feel the way you feel? I think it starts as young as possible having discussions.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes.
You know this. If the best place is the dinner table or the breakfast table, whenever your family gathers, to have a conversation about, so how's everybody feeling today? You know, we're going to the movies tonight.
Right.
Do we need to do anything to make anybody feel comfortable?
Letting everyone's, as the show says, their voice be heard, right? Because for some of these kids, I see it working in kindergarten, a lot of these children have so many emotions and thoughts, and you would never imagine a child that young has thoughts like that.
Absolutely.
But it's so vital to let them talk about it, you know, because the last thing you want, and I'm sure you can attest to this, that, you know, they're not able to communicate how they're feeling, and this is something that's just a build-up. And a build-up, and then it just takes one incident. Maybe they're out, you know, in a social setting, and their friends are there, and their sibling knocks the cake over, and boom,
there's a problem.
you know, there's a problem. So it's really important, I'm sure. So how can parents facilitate that conversation? What are key words or starters parents can do to?
You know, there's a great book called How to Speak So Your Kids Will Listen.
Okay.
I would recommend that book. But again, depending on age, really depends on kind of what's going to be disclosed or not disclosed. When you think about kids in kindergarten, 3, 4, they have good language, but they may not be able to connect how they're feeling to what's going on. So it would be a very simple, you know, all about them kind of thing.
Yes.
So we're going to the movies and your brother's coming tonight. What do we need to do to make it good for you? Oh, what do we need to do to make it good for your brother? And they may say, bring his chew toy. Fabulous. You know, we're starting the conversation.
So you're providing those tools and suggestions for those siblings so that they're equipped.
Exactly.
You know, as frontline staff, as parents, we know what we need to do, but for some of these siblings, they're clueless, you know, and all they need is that push or that encouragement so they know how to continue on.
And that as kids get older too, understanding about their sibling.
Right.
You know, what is the diagnosis? Because kids wonder, am I going to catch it? Right?
Very true.
Am I going to catch it? So, you know, again, parents know their kids. So when they feel the time is right to have that discussion about how their sibling learns or why their sibling does what they do or how you can help them as their brother or sister, or at school. Like, how do you want to be involved with your sibling at school?
Right.
Because some kids automatically are called down to the office to help out with their siblings.
I've been in many situations like that. Yeah.
And that may be okay in some families, and it may not. And to hear the voice of the person who is so-called typical, to say that I don't want to be pulled out of class.
Right.
I get embarrassed. I miss work. I stress about missing work.
Yes.
You know, could we have another plan?
And those are completely normal feelings.
So normal, so normal. The other end is really kind of maybe the further end of the spectrum. As siblings get older, there is a time, I'm sure, where they start to wonder, is my sibling going to live with me for the rest of my life? One of the things Dawn told us is that siblings spend more time together than a mom or a dad with their children. Right. Right? They have a longer length of time.
Absolutely. That's a very good,
Isn't that
true.
like, and I never thought about that before. So really, as families, working together with a life plan. So God forbid something happened to mom and dad.
Yeah. Let's
Have
talk
we
about it
made
now.
a plan? Do we know what the expectations are? If I'm 16 and I have a brother who's 18, 14, doesn't matter, 12, or a sister, and something happens to our mom and dad,
you're ready.
We're ready.
Right.
It's not a nice thing to talk about, and most families don't.
Right.
But to really make sure that the siblings, as they get older, understand that there is a plan, and whether the sibling is a part of that plan and wants to, you know, always have their sibling with them and plan, you know, with the boyfriend that's coming into the house. If the boyfriend doesn't like the sibling, then bye-bye boyfriend. Or the husband coming up, you know, that he'd be well prepared for having
Good points.
their brother or sister in the house with them.
You see, so Liz has brought so many fantastic points to us. There's a lot of people who are involved in this, and not necessarily the sibling. There's the parent's role, there's the teacher's role and how to equip their students, and the person who really needs to be considered here is the child themselves. They want to feel as if that, you know, my brother or sister does like me being around them. And parents want to feel that my child is comfortable bringing their younger or older sibling to the swimming pool. This is a team approach, and this is why we had this episode, because oftentimes, as Elizabeth said, this is not addressed. So thank you so much, Elizabeth, for being on the show. Thank you. I'm going to just get a quick shot of the book, just so you can see, for anyone's interested. This is the kind of information that we need out there, and we need to give that insight and that voice to those siblings. Hopefully after watching this episode, you, if you're a parent or a sibling, feel more equipped to start conversations, to know the services that are available. So once again, thank you for watching, having Elizabeth on the show. I'm Jamila Gamble, and it's a Voice for All. Welcome back to Voice for All. I'm your host, Jamila Gamble. If you were just tuning in, you missed a fantastic interview with Elizabeth from Autism Ontario. We talked about a topic that's often very taboo in the family, and it's about the other children of a sibling who has a disability. In this case, it was autism. Elizabeth thankfully provided us some great insight and tips for both the family members and for the individual themselves. And if you are curious to know what those points were, feel free to email me at missjams.pcss@gmail.com. I'd be more than delighted to provide you with that information. Or you could tweet me at MissJamsPCCS, where I'm always putting up-to-date information, and I will be tweeting about this episode as well, so you could find some insight and provide me with your insight as well. We've had a fantastic episode from the community voice component, where we went out onto the Brampton streets and asked people, do you feel Peel does enough when it comes to disability awareness? And like I said, it was a mixed response. So that tells me A Voice for All is here to stay. We are here for you. We are going to give you the hard-hitting information, get your feedback, and provide you with all the information that we need to be a community that's aware of everybody, and not just people who are, you know, out about in entertainment or food or fashion, but the voices that are often in the shadows, we are bringing them up to the foreground. So I always encourage you to write to me. If you want to be a guest on the show, bring it on. We'd love to have you on and to hear what your feedback is. Next week, we'll be having some more hard-hitting issues, so make sure you stay tuned. If this is your first time watching, I hope you enjoyed the show. Let your neighbors know, your friends, your students. We'd love to hear what you have to say and have you as a show. Once again, my name is Jamila Gamble. This has been A Voice for All, and thank you for tuning in.